Hey, Dave here, Fix and Fly RC. Good evening. Getting close to getting the STEMWing lights finished up for my F-4 Phantom. The last series of videos so far, we've got the fuselage and the wingtip lights. We got it up and running. Everything, got all the wires tucked away and stowed away. The only thing I haven't done on that, and I'm going to do one more video, kind of a overall summary video, is getting the little the tape or something on the lights to kind of break them up like they are in the actual bird. But other than that, everything's working. So I bought the canopy lights as well. Of course, you know, only gonna be able to see them on the ground, but it's gonna be cool. So this video is on the installation of the canopy, and it's kind of like on the other videos. We're gonna learn as we go, and hopefully all things work well. So one thing you'll notice when you buy when you buy the canopy lights, at least for this plane, there are two different ones, obviously, and they're two different sizes. Panel one, this is marked panel one, and panel two, and actually on the connectors it says panel one and panel two. I doubt it makes a difference which one you plug them into, but I'm going to plug them in the ones he's got them marked just in case. And I'm going to assume, just by looking at the instruments that are shown on panel one, the bigger one's going to go up front, the smaller one's going to go in the back, but we'll find out when we get in there. So not so different than when we started doing, installing the wings before. Is, you gotta come to a commit point where you said, well, I'm gotta, like when you started cutting the hole in the plane for the lights, you're committed at that point. Not quite so bad, but on the canopy, you're going to have to commit, because once again, on your almost $700 plane, you're going to have to start taking things apart to get the things installed. So that's no different than with the canopy. If you're new to this, you've never done this, the canopies are usually glued down right along the foam edges here. Sometimes they're glued in a few spots. Sometimes there's glue all along the way. We're going to find out. So the biggest thing you're going to have to do is get started, and gotta do another one. So there's a couple ways of doing it. I'm going to start off. I've just got me a little box cutter blade here, something thin to kind of get up between the plastic and the canopy. And I'm going to start up here on the front edge right there, and I'm just going to see if I can get the thing up in there and peel that up just a little bit. And I don't know if you can see I'm just kind of lightly going through there, just kind of breaking that loose a little bit. Probably can hear the glue breaking. Okay, so now I've gotten that edge. Let me see if I can get the camera where you can see it, but I've gotten that edge right there up a little bit. And probably could, yeah, I thought I could maybe stick my finger there, but I'm going to go ahead and, I don't want to tear up the foam or, make the plastic, get it out of shape by tugging on it too much. So I'm going to turn around here where I can see it a little bit better. I know you can't, but I'm just taking my knife, my razor blade edge, and I'm just kind of easing it down through here. Just kind of breaking this. So this does definitely feel like, they've definitely did a good job of gluing, which is kind of funny because, some planes, they have a lot of glue, so, landing gears glued on, nacelles are glued on. There's a lot of parts that are glued on. And I've had I had a B-24 that the nacelle and my motor just fell off. Fortunately, I had not taken off. I had just spun up to get ready to take off, and it fell off on the ground, and I was very, very fortunate that it wasn't in the air. So, there's a lot of discussion about how much you should check. I'll probably do a video on that, because you get on some of these fake Facebook pages, and somebody will have a new plane with a problem, and there'll be a bunch of people get on there. Well, you got to check every single glue joint, every single connection, and there's someone's going like, hey, I'm kind of in the, there's kind of a point, I think, when you start getting to that $500, $600, $700 price range, You know, I think it's like any other thing you would buy. You know, you kind of expect to have quality. I mean, they got QC stamps on these planes, so it says somebody's looked at it. And yes, you know, it's probably to your benefit to go ahead and do that full check, but you would kind of almost think that, you know, you wouldn't have to check everything. But so that's a big debate on Facebook and a lot of the channels. But all right, so I've got both sides done. I'm gonna try to peel up the back without putting the knife edge back there because I don't want to scratch it. But I feel like it wants that. So hey, you know, obviously on the videos, like any of buddy, the same thing I do. You know, if this part's boring for you, just zip on through it. I thought it would just pop off just a little bit easier than that, but I'm going to say they actually did a pretty good job of gluing it. All right, was able to get my finger under that. And we're going to run it down the edge here because there's still a little bit glued. All right, so you can kind of, you know, when you get it off, you'll kind of see where they had it glued. And so they did have a nice, pretty good little stream of glue down both sides. Of course, the front's got a little bit of glue on it. And then there's some glue. So what I'll do before I glue this back on, I'm going to go through here and just, you can kind of just take your thumb or whatever and just peel that old glue off before you re-glue it. And that way it'll fit back on better. Okay, so now we have access to our canopy. And you know, there is a little piece of paper on there, and well, first of all, we'll just got some glue down in there. We'll do a size check, and yeah. So obviously, just kind of like I said, the front one is going to fit, you know, right there on the front. That fits good. And the back one fits there on the back. And it doesn't look like there's any trimming or anything that's going to be required. Looks like we're just going to need to be able to put some glue on it. And I'm just out of curiosity, I wonder if this paper that they got on there, that, you know, for the cockpit lights, if that paper will peel off so we have a better glue surface. So yeah, that one's going to peel off. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. So she's off. Didn't tear it. If I ever wanted to put it back on for whatever reason, it's there, but I don't ever see the need to do that again. And let's see if we can get this one off. And this is probably not even worth your time. I've just, you know, I do gluing. I used to do bonding for a living on composites and stuff, and surface prep is always, you know, the most critical part. So just kind of giving myself a good place for that to grow into. Okay, so I got my, you know, fake cockpit lights off, getting ready to install it. Now, again, you know, the fun part is kind of another one, but not, you know, not quite so bad, is you're going to have to put a little hole in your canopy for the light. And so, of course, this one that's on the left. So I'm just going to take my little knife edge here, and my light went out the other day that I usually work by, so I'm limited on light right now. But I'm gonna, right where that wire goes, I'm gonna stick me a little hole. Wow, that was a little bit bigger than I thought it was gonna be. It's pretty thin right there, so we'll, the foam was really thin right there, so I just poked it with my knife, kind of a, I don't know if you probably can't see it, was a pretty good size little hole went through there, but hey, we'll put that in there like that. You know, as I always say, ain't nobody gonna see that one from the air, that's for sure. All right. And now I will tell you on this one, I noticed that, well, you know what? I grabbed the small one. So guess what? Pay attention to what you're doing. You probably noticed it on the video. It's going like, stop. All right. So what I was going to say is these, you don't need to push them all the way down. So when you glue them, you're going to have to, hold them in place for a minute to keep them still. Now I think what I'm going to use, just because I got it, the glue that came with the plane is a pretty fast setting glue, and it sticks really quick. So I can just put some there and probably just hold it for a second. It's not going to come loose. So that's where the first one's going to go. And I'm going to guess I'm going to end up punching a big hole like I did on the other one, but we'll find out. Apparently it's a little thicker right there. So actually we'll have to cut a little bit. All right, well that one's going to be a little neater. Push that one through the hole. Same thing there. Now, before I glue, I've checked these once before, but before I glue these down and glue the canopy on, let's do one last check. Make sure they work, make sure there's no issues. So let me go get my checker. Okay, you probably saw this if you watched any of the other videos, but I'll do it. So I'm using a Spectrum smart checker. These are really good. Something similar to this. One is you can balance your batteries with this. You can check your battery voltages. It's a great servo checker. So if you're, got an issue with a servo, you want to check a servo before you put it in. So you just plug it in, and we'll grab the front light first. Now there's a little connection right here, and again, you have to make sure your polarity. I just know, and if you look, that negative is going to be toward the top. I'm going to go to servo test, and voila, yep, there you go. You can see the light working. And so let's check the backlight. Put the polarity right, and we have the backlight working. So both lights are working. So we're going to be safe to glue, get the canopy on, and get that glue back down. And probably all in all, 5 or 10 minutes to do this whole thing. So I'm going to go with glue, and we'll get these glued on and get the canopy glued back on. So let me go get some glue. Okay, so again, just grab the glue that came with the plane. It's like I said, it tacks up real fast. It's very sticky, and so kind of in the, I talked about surface prep and being way over the top. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm just going to give this a little sand. This is pretty rough already, by the way, so don't really need much, but just a little bit. And then I'm just going to give, it's cleared up a little bit where the paper came off, but just giving that just a little bit of again, way over the top, way over the top. Boy, if you haven't used this glue though, it is really sticky. It will get on your hands, and I'm gonna just grab it. You can tell I thought this one through really good. But instead of getting this glue on my fingers, or at least trying to keep it off my fingers, and don't glue it to the table, just got me a little tongue depressor, and I'm just gonna kind of spread it around here. Pull my wire back through, and like I said, just want to line it up with the top there. And they even kind of match the, there's a couple little ridge lines right here, and that has the same little ridge line, so you can match it up with that. So I'm gonna hold that for a minute. Let that dry. And it's already pretty stuck in place there. All right, so we'll do the back one. A little bit of wrapping up there. Tell you this, I would be really careful with the canopy though. It's got like a stress point, well, right here. You push down on it very hard, you may snap it and be gluing your canopy back together. So just be careful there. Okay, same thing. Get a little glue down. And maybe one of these days, if I actually have a real site, YouTube site, I'll buy me one of those fancy dancy microphones so that you can hear me better. As I've said a lot of times, I'm really just doing these videos mainly because I've looked for stuff and I couldn't find it. So I just did a video on how I did it. And as always, there's different ways for everybody. Not everybody's way is the same. All right, so I'm just getting this lined up, pushing down on it. Here, a little glue came out, so I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit. And I don't think that one's going to go anywhere. She is on there. All right, so we now have the canopy lights installed. And so now the next thing to do is to put our canopy back on. And of course you can, do your check fit, just make sure you don't see anything weird going on there. And you'll notice, up front, it's real thin right there. So you're not gonna need a ton of glue. I have tried to remove a lot of the glue already that was on there. When the camera was off a little while ago. End up having to take like the box cutter edge and get some of this off. Now this one's probably the one I really don't want to put this glue back on it because I don't know how it comes off. If you ever have to take the canopy off, you're going to want some kind of flexible glue. So there's a couple options. I have bought this and I haven't opened it in a while, so we're going to find out if it's still good. This is called Modeler's Canopy Glue, and I bought it at the local hobby shop, and it says it dries clear, and so this is an option for you. It comes out white, it's supposed to dry clear. I've noticed it has a little bit of color to it sometimes. Another option that I use on a lot of my planes for repair especially is foam tack. And this one definitely, foam tack definitely, will will dry to where you can't, move it around very much, in a relatively short order. But, if you're like doing a structural repair, I definitely like to give it 24 hours. This is another one, never gets brittle, dries clear as well. So you can kind of take your options on which one it is. But I know the foam tack, obviously it's still, it's the one that if you ever have to take something off that you glued with this, you have an opportunity. Or, we can do this. Let's just see if this glue still has any life left in it. The tip is clogged up. Hey, you're getting it real time, guys, here. I don't have a staff of people, it's just me. I may cut this part out. So let me get it just a little bit more. You can tell I haven't used this one in a while. Should have checked it before the video started. I'm gonna just take that tip off, see if it does any better. Well, I am not happy with what that's doing there. Instead of wasting a lot of time, we're gonna move over to my next favorite glue. So on, you can see on the canopy here, you can see where the glue was. So you can just go ahead and get you some glue on there. Like I said, this is not taking any load, so you don't need a lot of glue. Again, if you got to take it off, you're gonna do just like we did in the beginning. You're going to put something up under there, and all right. Now what I don't want to do, because this is so thin up front, I could easily get to the thick part. So for this thin part right here, I'm just going to apply it straight to the plastic. Make sure I get the front here, so that make sure you definitely don't want that front coming off, getting some air up under it. Thing will get airborne on you. I tell you, it's kind of weird. I have lost canopies in flight before because the latch broke or something. And if you're out flying by yourself and you lose the canopy, good luck finding it sometimes, depending on where you're flying it. If you got a flying buddy out there, just yell canopy and then let them watch it hit the ground. And they can flutter and go down a long ways. So, all right, so I think we got a pretty good coverage there. Do like I do a lot of times, forget to put the glue on there, or the top on the glue. All right, so, and I already got some on my windscreen. Oh. It looks like a scratch in there. There you go. Be careful with your glue. I'm going to just have to deal with that since the glue's already on there. All right, we're going to get her squeezed down here. Get any excess off. Now the one thing that I'm going to do, and you got to be careful with tape and these planes and tape, because in general, tape and the paint on these foam planes don't play nice together. But with the plastic, you really don't have that problem. And because this glue takes just a little bit longer to set up, it look like it's setting down pretty nicely. I'm going ahead and just put a little piece of tape on there and let that glue set for a little bit, and then I'll come back and we'll hook it up to the plane here shortly and see how she looks. We're going to give that glue just a few minutes to set up. So go get your cup of coffee or something, hang around. I will be back shortly and we'll see how she looks on the plane. Okay, so we got the canopy on, and you can see there the canopy lights. Just out of curiosity, here's the plane with the lights out, with the formation lights on. And then there's the canopy lights. Okay, well there you go. That was actually pretty easy in the canopy part was, other than, you know, just had to unglue something and be prepared to glue it back on. But got all the canopy lights on. So really the only thing I got left is, like I mentioned, I've got to do something here. And I'll explain that in the next video, but the tape they sent, I'm not having any luck with. So I'm gonna try to either put some paint on them or something, but I'll talk about that later. So anyway, this is the final installation for the STEMWing lights for my F-4 Phantom. Like I said, I didn't put the tail lights on. Maybe coming, just really like the graphics and hate to cut through the graphics. So, you know, anyway, personal preference. But anyway, those won't be hard either. The tail won't be, because it's going to be easy to run the wires. You just have to pull it off and run, you know, take your pull wire and pull the wires through. Still got to cut a hole in it and find a place to tuck the wires away. But other than that, it's, you know, the same thing you did before. So once you did the fuselage, you know the process. So, you know, the other's not hard. So anyway, I hope that this part of the series was good for you. I am really excited to hopefully get this thing up in the air sometime in the near future. Winds are just really not conducive right now. We've just had a lot of bad weather. And and if you watch some of the earlier videos, you'll notice I'm out of my sling now. So I've got used to the arm again. Still not 100% for sure, but think I can fly a plane. So anyway, let me know what you think. Give me a like, give me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Dave here, Fix and Fly RC. Good flying.